Peace Reflections. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will be discussing religion and how it's destroying us psychologically. Now, like most of us who are melanated, you know, we grew up in like a Christian home. Doesn't matter the goofy branches that they have, but a lot of us grew up in a Christian home. And for me personally, just speaking from my own experience, um, like like when I was introduced to like Jesus, from my mother's mother, uh, she she kind of like beat it in me, like I was always, kind of curious about my existence. Like I knew there was something magical about me because I was consciously aware that I exist, but I wasn't sure exactly what that meant. So when she introduced the concept of Jesus, she was saying, that Jesus, God, created, the earth realm and created me. I came from a rib of a dude. You know how that story goes, so like I didn't believe it at first because I had like common sense. As a kid, I was that kid that was like, why? Like I always asked why. So when she said you had to believe in Jesus, and I'm like, why? She said, you're not supposed to question God. Like when bad things will happen to good people, I would ask, well, why Jesus didn't help save that person? And she would say, things like, well, God works in mysterious ways, like goofy shit like that. So I still wasn't buying it, but I kind of brought into it as I got older because we was going to church and stuff like that a lot, and I didn't really learn anything, but it was just something that you just kind of had to accept. So I just sit here and I think, because a lot of us that are in the so-called conscious community are listening to these leaders in the conscious community. Some of them say, well, Christianity derived from the continent of Africa, and me personally, I don't think that's true. I guess maybe the actual true concept of a deity representing nature or representing something, so you can tell people who can't truly grasp on the deeper concept of it, you would put a deity there. So from that logical standpoint, I could be like, okay, well that makes sense. From that logical standpoint, when it comes to if Christianity came from Africa, but we know that the white Jesus dude, he came from Europe. you know like we all know that the Jesus story was stolen from the story of Heru. So we understand that. So we understand Jesus came from Europe, but his story was stolen from Heru. So, and God, the concept of God's story was, stolen from Asar, and the Virgin Mary story was stolen from Isis. So we understand those concepts. So there's no like trying to debunk that, because we know that Jesus is not real. Jesus could be real in your reality, but him actually influencing this planet and being here physically is not true. So basically, my question would be, why do people still believe in the concept of Jesus with all this knowledge that we have now? Like, everything is out on the table. Every single thing. Everything is up for grabs. Everything is up for questioning. And yet, you still have these Jesus freaks that's out here, that's really pushing this concept, well, Jesus is real, Jesus is our savior, Jesus is coming back, blah 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 blah. And it's like, why do they go so hard for a being that they have never seen, truly in their heart don't know if it, that it being truly exists, and they won't even put that same effort into loving themselves? So, for example, this Jesus freak, came up to me, and she started, trying to, let me know about the Word of God, and I was on my way somewhere that was more important than what she was talking about. So, I had asked her a question. I said, well, who do you love more, Jesus or yourself? And she said, well, I love Jesus more. And I was like, so you don't love yourself? She's like, I am Jesus. I am, a part of, I am a part of him. And I had to walk away, because it's like, how can you be a part of something you don't truly know exists? You got the concept from somebody else who got the concept from somebody else, but nobody has really, broken down who Jesus truly is, because, they look at Jesus as this like soft white guy who was so loving and caring, where in reality, if we're gonna think that this character is real, he was a black revolutionary man. This man taught about love. He taught people to go back into nature, and he also died for what he believed in. And on top of that, Jesus never healed anybody. He said, through your faith you are healed. So technically he never healed anybody. So people are praying to this man, praying to this energy, this essence and stuff like that. And it's like, is this being really helping you? Like, you would sit down and you will have a plate of a dead chicken, some white rice, and some ham, some dead pigs, and a dead turkey, and some macaroni and cheese, and you will pray over that food that it would nourish your body. What kind of contradicting shit is that? You really think the dead flesh that you have on your plate is going to nourish your body, and then wonder why you have high blood pressure, and wonder why you have your cholesterol is high and your arteries is clogged? Like, come on, Reflections. Like, when we want to give this silly shit up and really go back into nature? Like, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want to do, but just listen to what I'm saying, though, because I was brought up in that as well, but I was never really religious. Like, I don't really care about anything in a religious sense. I always liked being outside and being by the tree. I always was in tune with nature to a certain extent. I never really truly believed in God and Jesus, because it was always something suspect about the stories that they told. The fact that you can't question something, it's kind of like off to me. Because I know when I go into nature, I can question the tree and ask the tree, how do you exist? How do you help me to exist? And I would get an answer back, where you would so-called talk to Jesus and stuff like that. You're literally just talking to yourself. But you actually think that you're talking to something outside of yourself, where everything is in you. Everything that's outside of you is inside of you. We're projecting how we feel inside, outside. There's nothing outside of us. So the fact that you think something outside of you is doing something better for you, that's insane. Because you wouldn't give that same energy you get to Jesus to like your kids or your marriage or your partner or whatever, or energy to actually do better in life. Like, some people, use Jesus and God as motivation to keep going, And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you spreading positivity and love and light, you know, you could believe in whatever you want to believe in. But these people who are like so-called Jesus freaks and go so hard, they are the negative ones. They are the judgmental people. They are the ones that condemn you to hell, even though we know hell and heaven are a mindset. But yet they want to sit there and go word for word out the Bible, just remembering verses that they want to remember, but not remembering that the slave master did the same thing. The slave master went inside that same book, that same King James Version book, and told your ass that it's okay for you to be a slave. But yet you don't want to acknowledge that though. I think that's kind of odd that you can look at one thing and then ignore another thing in that same book. That's fucking crazy. And then that book constantly contradicts itself over and over and over again. And there's some truth in it because it has nature in it. They always hide the truth in the lie. And we know that, but just by observing what's happening right now in this reality right now, there's a lot of, you know, alternative facts and then facts at the same time. So I just really want to just get people to really start thinking about, especially the beings who still are indoctrinated in this book or in a religion in general, who completely ignore the black woman, number one, and then completely ignore nature. Like, I don't understand that if the lower self cuts down all the trees, Jesus could not save you at all, because you wouldn't be able to breathe. Jesus would not come save you. You would just die because you can't breathe. We are in direct harmony with nature if we get in tune, but we are out of the equilibrium right now, so we're not in tune. That's why the lower self keeps cutting the trees and stuff, and that's why all the carbon is in the atmosphere, like the amount of it as it is. Because you got to understand that we breathe out carbon dioxide, and the tree takes the carbon and turns it into oxygen so we can breathe it in. So the fact that there are trees that are being cut and there's so much carbon in the air just lets you know that we are slowly killing ourselves. The lower self is slowly killing us, just killing this planet. And we are the ones to blame. And then, you know, all that energy that's spent on going to church and all this other stuff could be spent on actually getting knowledge of self and learning how to love yourself so you can be able to love somebody else. We love Jesus so much that we don't even love our own family. You won't get that same energy to a family member that's actually in need, or a person that's in need. Or it doesn't have to be family. It could be anybody that's in need. It could be a complete stranger that needs some love and light, and you won't give him no love and light. But you're quick to give Jesus that love and light, though. It's just the mindset. It's just the perspective of the person's mind at this point. Because this shit is silly. It's silly. You know, I think we should really start, especially the beings who are starting to question their religion at this point, just go into nature. Just go. Sit with the tree. Talk with the plant. Connect. Get some sunlight. Get into the sun. Start to breathe in good oxygen, even though our air quality is terrible because of the chemtrails. Just try to get more in tune and just see how you feel. It doesn't hurt to question your religion, to question where this doctrine even came from, to question why churches are so segregated. Mind you, they're supposed to be all Christian, but you have black churches and white churches, which I all believe in the same thing. But yet you teach it differently. But it's coming from the same book. Come on, reflection. That don't raise an eyebrow. That don't that don't sound right. That the lower self uses the same book to enslave you. That don't sound right. That you read, that you go into. Why not start questioning things now? We in the information age. Why not start questioning things now? You have a choice. To either stay in a lower self or to raise your kundalini and get to your higher self and start loving yourself so you can start to work on ascending. You know, we can't act like things ain't getting realer and realer each day. And beings keep thinking that Jesus is gonna come crack the sky open and come kill all the white people is absurd. That's not a thing. You know what's gonna kill people? That sun. I say that why? Because the planet is heating up. Go see if the polar caps are not melting. The planet is heating up. The water is rising. The sun, the mama, she's sick. She has a fever. She's heating up. She's going to get rid of the cancer. So start to question things and get into your higher self. Be the immunity on the planet and not the cancer. Start questioning things. Go into nature. Go back and connect to that tree that actually gives you fruit, that actually gives you oxygen so you can breathe. And get out that damn book. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. But it doesn't make sense in the information age to not start getting a different perception of your reality at this point. It's just something to think about, reflections. I'm not gonna make this video long, but it's just something to think about, especially to the people who are still, like I said, indoctrinated in the BS. Get out, set yourself free, and realize that your true God is the black woman. Nature is God. Nature is the black woman. You are a cell living inside of a cell, which is the black woman. I say that, look, she's brown and green. She gives us life. Just something to think about, reflections. I'm gonna shut this video down. I love myself.